Power is a word that carries weight. In the context of leadership, it signifies influence, control, vision, and the ability to shape the destiny of nations. In Africa, a continent rich in history and potential, there are leaders who stand at the pinnacle of political and economic power, steering their countries through complex challenges while shaping regional and global affairs. But who are these powerful African leaders today? What makes them influential? Is it political authority, economic control, military might, or international alliances? In this deep dive, we'll explore the most powerful leaders in Africa today, those who hold immense sway over politics, economies, and diplomatic relations. Their policies, strategies, and decisions don't just affect their own nations, but the entire African continent and beyond. Before we begin, let's define what makes a leader powerful. In the African context, power can be measured in different ways. Political influence plays a crucial role. How much control does a leader have over governance, laws, and the state? Are they democratically elected, or do they hold power through more authoritarian means? Economic strength is another critical factor. How well does a leader manage national resources, foreign investments, and industrial growth? Military power also cannot be ignored. Some leaders command strong armies and are deeply involved in regional security and international peacekeeping efforts. Then there's regional and global influence leaders who actively shape policies within the African Union, the United Nations, and other international bodies hold significant power beyond their borders. And finally, longevity and stability leaders who have maintained control over their nations for extended periods often wield more authority than those in fragile or short-term positions. With these aspects in mind, let's take a closer look at the most powerful African leaders today. Few African leaders are as widely respected and at times feared as Paul Kagame, the president of Rwanda. Since taking power in 2000, Kagame has been credited with transforming Rwanda from a nation torn apart by genocide into one of Africa's fastest-growing economies. His leadership has been defined by economic modernization, strict governance, and a no-nonsense approach to corruption and opposition. Under his rule, Rwanda has become a major player in African diplomacy, with Kagame often taking the lead in continental affairs. His influence extends beyond Rwanda, as he has played a key role in mediating regional conflicts, deploying Rwandan troops for peacekeeping missions, and strengthening ties with global superpowers. However, his leadership is not without controversy. Critics argue that his government suppresses dissent and limits political freedoms, but his supporters see him as a necessary force for stability and progress. Kagame's grip on power remains strong, making him one of the most influential figures in Africa today. As the president of South Africa, Cyril Ramaphosa leads Africa's most industrialized economy. His power is not just political but deeply rooted in economics. A former businessman and trade union leader, Ramaphosa played a key role in shaping South Africa's post-apartheid economy. Since taking office in 2018, he has worked to attract foreign investment, revitalize key industries, and combat corruption. His influence stretches beyond South Africa, as he often represents the continent in global economic forums like the G20 and BRICS. His leadership within the African National Congress (ANC) gives him strong control over South African politics, and his diplomatic efforts have positioned him as a key negotiator in African conflicts and trade agreements. However, he faces enormous challenges, including high unemployment rates, energy crises, and political infighting. Despite these struggles, Ramaphosa's control over Africa's economic powerhouse secures his position as one of the continent's most powerful leaders. Egypt has always been a dominant force in Africa, and under the leadership of President Abdel Fattah el-Sisi, that power has emerged. A former general, el-Sisi took control in 2014 after the ousting of President Mohamed Morsi. Since then, he has maintained a firm grip on Egyptian politics, consolidating power through military influence and strict governance. Economically, Egypt remains one of Africa's largest economies, with major projects like the expansion of the Suez Canal and ambitious infrastructure developments. Militarily, Egypt has one of the strongest armed forces on the continent, giving el-Sisi leverage in regional security matters. His diplomatic ties with global powers, including the United States, Russia, and China, further enhance his influence. While critics accuse him of authoritarian rule, his control over Egypt's political and economic landscape makes him one of Africa's most powerful leaders today. Kenya has long been a key player in East African politics, and President William Ruto is emerging as one of the region's most influential leaders. Since taking office in 2022, Ruto has positioned himself as a champion of economic reform and regional trade partnerships. His administration has focused on strengthening Kenya's position as a technological and financial hub in Africa. Ruto's leadership extends beyond Kenya, as he plays an active role in the East African Community (EAC) and continental initiatives. His diplomatic efforts with international partners, particularly in trade and security, are shaping Kenya's future. With a growing influence in African politics and a vision for a stronger East Africa, Ruto is steadily rising as a formidable leader on the continent. Nigeria is Africa's most populous nation and largest economy, making its leader one of the most influential figures on the continent. At the helm of this giant is President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, a man whose political career spans decades and whose impact on Nigerian politics is undeniable. Known as the political godfather of Lagos and a master strategist, Tinubu's rise to power has been marked by resilience, influence, and deep-rooted political connections. Bola Tinubu officially took office as Nigeria's president on May 29, 2023, but his influence began long before that. As the governor of Lagos State from 1999 to 2007, he transformed Nigeria's commercial capital into a thriving economic hub, laying the groundwork for the state's modernization. His policies in Lagos expanded infrastructure, improved revenue generation, and set the template for governance that many other states have tried to emulate. As president, Tinubu faces enormous challenges, including tackling Nigeria's economic crisis, managing insecurity, and restoring public confidence in governance. His early days in office were marked by bold and controversial decisions, such as the removal of fuel subsidies, which sent shockwaves through the economy but was praised by economists for reducing government spending on unsustainable subsidies. As Nigeria continues to play a dominant role in Africa's economic and political future, Tinubu's leadership will shape the continent's trajectory in significant ways. Whether he is seen as a visionary leader or a controversial power broker, there is no denying that Bola Tinubu is one of the most powerful African leaders of today. Power in Africa is dynamic, constantly shifting as new leaders emerge and challenges evolve. But one thing is certain: these leaders, whether admired or criticized, have left an undeniable mark on the continent. As Africa continues to rise on the global stage, the influence of its leaders will be more critical than ever.